Tottenham are ready to stop their players from leaving for international duty this month if they have to quarantine on their return. That is according to the Daily Telegraph via Daily Hotspur on Twitter. We're going to discuss this news a little bit, how it was kind of inevitable with Spurs going into the closing ends of the season. But first, if you are new to the channel, you want more of these videos, plus live Tottenham watch-alongs, the Tottenham Fan Voice podcast, previews and reviews, plus a whole lot more, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below and click the like button if you are happy with this news that Spurs will stop their players going on international duty at the end of March if they do have to quarantine on their return. And this is, for me anyway, it was a news story that was inevitable. And I think we will see the same thing with the majority of Premier League clubs as we approach the first international break since I think it's last November. It's the last weekend of March. Players will be going off to play international games. And this has been a problem from the beginning of the season, international breaks on their own, because in a situation that the world is in right now, playing football in England, like playing domestic football, is a massive risk. Playing European football is an even bigger risk. But playing international football is an incredibly big risk that the football associations are taking, with players travelling from all over the world. If you're looking at Spurs alone, you've so many players in Europe, like Sergio Reguilon playing in Spain, you've Hugo Lloris with France, then you're looking at Davinson Sanchez for Colombia, Eric Lamela, Lo Celso, that big Argentinian contingent as well. There are players going all over the world and then coming back and congregating in one team. And I think we all know there aren't many precautions taken at training within the training ground, because the players see each other every single day. But that's a very different situation when they are coming back from international duty. And I honestly do feel as though my own personal opinion and personal preference would be that any player who does go on international duty should have to quarantine when they come back. But for me, that's a sign that international football should not be played at the moment. And I've said that from the beginning of the season, not only because of the threats that it does pose in terms of spreading the virus, but also it's 3 games over every international break right now. It's really, really dangerous towards the fitness of players. And we've seen an increased number of muscle injuries throughout the Premier League this season. Liverpool, the team probably affected most by that, but every single club has had their fair share of muscle injuries. And I do think it is down to the how congested the season is, and international breaks are not helping that. But on this news, in particular, Tottenham are ready to stop their players from leaving for international duty if they have to quarantine on the return. First of all, let me know down in the comments what you think about this one. And it's been a really, really long discussion, a really long debate in football as to whether or not domestic clubs should have the right and whether they should be allowed to stop players travelling for international duty. And we've seen a lot of disagreements and a lot of arguments over teams who have done that in the past. I think Sir Alex Ferguson was a manager who was known for kind of feigning an injury for a player so he didn't have to go on international break. And he's not the only one who has been guilty of it. A lot of managers have done that, and it's kind of deceptive, but at the end of the day, the manager of the club has to put his own club first. But for players, you can argue, should their international team come before their club, or vice versa? We're in a very different situation now. In my opinion, international football should not be played. European qualifiers, as far as I'm aware, are done. Friendlies do not matter. The UEFA Nations League is just glorified friendlies. Don't play it. Nobody cares. Nobody cares at the best of times. It's even worse to play it now. Give the players a break. Or maybe you could get rid of the international break, put a game on the weekend, and relieve a bit of the congestion later in the season. It is absolutely ridiculous that we are still playing international football. And I've said this so much throughout the season. I think it is an absolute joke. I really do not think it should be happening. But from a Tottenham point of view, I'm happy they're taking these steps to prevent us potentially losing some players, because if you're looking at the period we have after the international break, it's not the most difficult fixture list in the Premier League, but there is a bit of congestion there with the Europa League and of course the Carabao Cup final coming up as well. So once we do return from that international break, our first game back would be away to Newcastle, and it's actually a bit more difficult maybe than I had anticipated, because we're away to Newcastle, then we're at home to United, then we're away to Everton, and then it's the cup final against Manchester City. And given how we are looking now to potentially get back into that top 4 race in the Premier League, just 5 or 6 points off following last night's victory against Fulham, we want to win every single one of those games. We need to win every single one of those games. And if players are going off into international duty, then they have to quarantine for 2 weeks. I know a lot of teams will be in the same boat in the Premier League in terms of their players going, we'll have to quarantine. But we rely a lot on a very few select amount of players. So I think it will affect us a lot more than it may affect other teams. But even then, if it is a thing that's affecting every team, imagine how the interest in the Premier League will drop for that 2-week period. I've said quite a bit in the last couple of days, football is dead. Liverpool-Chelsea last night, a classic Premier League fixture. I couldn't have been bothered sitting down and watching a second of it. The VAR decisions, the refereeing decisions, football, the Premier League is on a knife edge at the moment. And if for 2 weeks the interest is going to be completely gone, because we're seeing youth teams go out and playing each other like Aston Villa had to do in the Cup against Liverpool, as Liverpool had to do in the Cup against Villa last season as well, the interest will drop to an absolute minimum. and I think it'll be difficult for the Premier League to regain that interest towards the end of the season. It's, as I say, it's on a knife edge. It could really go anyway. I think clubs should have the right to stop players going on international duty if they do have to quarantine, given that some idiot still thinks international football going ahead is the best decision. But look, I could rant about this all day long, but I'm not going to. As I said, leave down in the comments below your opinions on this one. Make sure to hit the like button if you're happy with the news that Spurs will stop their players, if you have enjoyed this video. And if you are new to the channel for watch-alongs, previews, reviews, podcasts, any Spurs content you could want, make sure to smash that like button down below. And as always, thanks for watching.